the summer, and currently and for the foreseeable future, I was working at StratusCube, which is a startup in Lakeland, which is not too far from here. That was actually founded by former poly students. They're a software consultancy and going in on their third year. And they asked me if I wanted to join them, and I said why not. And I've been working there over the past few months.
Who is the founder? If you don't mind.
The founder is a former poly student. His name is Mark Provenzano, along with Alex Frontadu, are the two people who founded it originally. Initially, they were working on a API for a piece of medical software, and slowly expanded, and then they started hiring people and more people, and then here they are. They've been going on for a few years. They're doing pretty well, actually. All right. My objectives going in was to optimize and refactor code, decrease the time from learning a technology to implementing it in software, because at least initially I spent a long time just learning and researching before I actually implement or put into practice what I've learned. So basically to decrease that time and learning to work with a team. Over my career at Florida Poly, I've been a lone wolf, really, just working on my own, and that actually does tie into optimize and refactor code, because in addition to being a lone wolf, I initially had a difficult time going through other people's code and reading it and being able to change it and alter it without shattering something. And those are my objectives going into this kind of environment. The style that we use there is Scrum and Agile. The clients would come to us with features that they want us to implement in the software that we're currently writing, and we would set up our sprints based on that, based on those objectives, and we would go forward with them. So, the project, holy NDA, Batman. So, unfortunately, I can't talk too much about the project that we're on right now. As I mentioned earlier, as I believe I mentioned earlier, StratusCube is a software consultancy firm, and we are working with another larger entity, and we're writing that software for them. So I can't quite go into detail into what we're building, because the company that we're working for has also signed NDAs on it. But I'll go into the technology that we are using to build that software. So for our backend, we're using Microsoft SQL Server for the application that we're building, for the medical software that we're building. And C# is the main language that's governing our backend. C# is primarily object-oriented and productivity-focused language, and the two frameworks that we're using in order to devise our backend is apps.NET and apps.NET Core, which are actually two different technologies. Apps.NET Core is based on .NET Core, which is different from .NET. And as it is focused on the web, eventually we are planning on moving everything to apps.NET Core, but we still have parts of the application in apps.NET. Now, for our front end, we have JavaScript, which is primarily everything. It is a multi-paradigm, very flexible language that's used for front-end and web development. And the two frameworks that we're using in that front is React and Redux. And across the front end and the back end, what the team focuses on is generic programming patterns. So being able to use multiple data types in generic structures. So the facet that I worked on was really everything. We are a small team, and in a pinch, it is useful to know the areas of the tech stack to help out since we're small, but mainly I worked on the front end, which was JavaScript. It was mainly JavaScript based. So the experience here for me going into this was interesting. JavaScript was not my forte going into this. Actually, my forte was C#, the extent of my JavaScript knowledge is a single class I took over a year ago. And even though I had much more experience in, well, I had much more experience in C#, and since I did have that background, it was easier for me to get into or to learn programming JavaScript. But also, if someone's having an issue on the back end, then I could help them out too, since I knew C# relatively well. JavaScript is pretty different in some ways, especially with the existing code base. The individual that I'm working with on the front end of this application uses a lot of advanced, more technical JavaScript features, and he uses the language to its full extent. So it was interesting working within that context. Interesting working within that context with him. Oh, old version of the PowerPoint, that sucks. So I picked up React in a couple of weeks. Redux is a little bit strange, but it's extremely useful. We use Redux to handle the internals of our front-end application, which then just calls back to the API and updates the front end for the software that we are building. Unfortunately, I think I did not save the previous version of this that I was working on, so that is the end of the PowerPoint, but I can continue talking about the goals and what we've done so far. So in the last few weeks, we have shipped V1.0 of our application with code that I've written for the front end and partially for the back end. And I believe all the learning objectives were hit. I have been working well as a team, gotten good reviews from our supervisor, the CEO. And as far as being able to bounce back and forth between both the front end and the back end, we are, or at least I'm able to do that relatively well. And that's it.
So you really cannot give us any detail about the project?
Not according to what they told me.
Okay. Then how do I check it out since?
Yeah, I know, it was pretty interesting, because that would have been the meat and potatoes of this of the presentation. They're just like, yeah, well, we can't talk about it. Okay.
But I have to check since. Well, in other case, you may want them to put something in written. They don't want you to talk about it.
Oh yeah, just
Otherwise,
the
based
paper
on
what's
criteria,
on
I don't see that component. How do I?
And that's fair. That's totally
it. He
fair.
told you about the technologies he used and like the methods.
Yeah, but
It's,
okay, I'm doing my best. Okay, I don't mean to.
No, I understand.
You any hard time. It's just because I don't see those components. How do I
Yeah.
check it, right?
I mean,
And
it
you
makes
are
sense.
telling me they don't want you to talk about it.